Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining our call here today. We'll get started with of the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā after these brief prayers to the spiritual master. Om Ajnānatimarandhasya Jnānāñjana-śalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you once again, dear devotees, for joining us on this call today. And we will start our call today with a big congratulations to Sukamal Radhe, who took her second mantra initiation from Vaisheshika Das Prabhu last Sunday. So that makes her eligible to do DT worship, among other things, and also to chant the Gayatri Mantra. So this is a fantastic progress, and we have been seeing that we assemble here and do Krishna Katha, and then of course we do other activities as well as seva, attending other lectures, reading other books, registering in other courses, and then over a period of time, we're seeing good progress. People get initiated. Those who are not initiated take shelter. So it's a very natural progress towards all this. So congratulations again. And
thank you, Shraddha Mataji.
And everybody else, you want to say congratulations? Then you can.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you, Survi.
And we also
congratulations to all Mataji.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
May you make a lot of progress in your spiritual life. This is my prayer to the Radha.
Thank you so much, Varshana Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so which verse are we doing? It seems like we're meeting after ages, right?
Yeah, me especially. Yeah.
7.7.
7.7 for 500 points to Sutapa Mataji as our opening balance. Yes. And chapter number 7, what are we talking about in general in chapter number 7?
Knowledge of the Absolute.
Knowledge of the Absolute. Is it? Does everybody agree with?
Yes.
You do? That is very good. So let me bring it up then. If you're all saying 7.7, then we have to do 7.7. And so in the beginning of this chapter, let's just go and do a recap because we're meeting after a period of 15 days almost. Seems like it at least. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And if you can confirm that you're able to see a screen with knowledge of the absolute on it.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Okay. So here it says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in chapter number 6, we ended the chapter number 6, which was more about Dhyan Yoga, but we ended that where he said that the one who is connected with me in Bhakti Yoga is the highest of all, right? And we were talking about the yoga ladder in chapter number 6. Now here is chapter number 7, and here he's going to tell more about him, knowledge of the absolute, which is knowledge about the Krishna, right? And which will make our mind attract towards him and want to meditate on him. Okay, so he's going to give us those details here in this chapter. So he says that something very interesting. Here he says, now here. So in verse number 1, he says, now here. And this is very, very important for us, right? To hear Krishna Katha, because hearing Krishna Katha has the effect of purifying our mind. And that's why when we are chanting the holy names of the Lord also, Prabhupada has said that you hear and chant, hear and chant, hear and chant, right? So you speak it once, you hear it, right? And if you're in a noisy environment, you can just put your finger inside your ear like that. And then, you will be able to hear your own voice. So there's a connection from the ear to the heart. So when the Hare Krishna Mahamantra enters from the ear and goes to the heart, it vibrates the heart and removes all the dirt from the heart, which is basically material attachment. And so now here, since we are a jiva soul embodied in a material world, Krishna is now saying that I'm going to declare you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal as well as numinous. So this knowledge over here, the phenomenal, the material, and the numinous, which is the spiritual knowledge. And he says that if you know this, then you don't have to know anything else because it covers everything. Now, when it comes to knowing about Krishna, Krishna is actually telling you that it's not just an easy task. It's not just a cakewalk for all of us. It says that out of many thousands among men, one may end up for perfection. And out of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Right? So thousands and then one, thousand, like that. And then he goes on to describe and tell about his energies, both spiritual as well as material. And so we came across this very famous verse, Bhumi Apo Anlo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Ityamme Vinna Prakriti Ashtada. It talks about his 8 separated energies which make up the material world. So there are gross energies and then there are subtle energies there, right? And then in the next one he says Apareya Mitastvanyam, right? Prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So he says, but apare, beyond these material energies, there is another superior energy of mind, right? And that superior energy is you, all, which is the spirit soul. And what is the spirit soul? So doing the spirit soul, the entities who are exploiting the resources of this material, inferior nature. So we're trying to enjoy something which is inferior to us, which is the material energy. Okay. So then in the last verse that we did last time, he said that all created beings have their source in these 2 natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution, right? And we had read verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam that talked about Markandeya Rishi's experience of dissolution, water dissolution, that when he wanted to see, and he asked Krishna to tell me about your material energy. And Krishna then, gave him an experience of that. And it was an overwhelming experience, but we have to remember that Krishna is both the origin as well as a dissolution. Everything happens according to Krishna's will. It could be that somebody else gets designated to do the job of dissolving this material world. But the thing is that even Shiva will not dissolve the material world unless Krishna tells him or inspires him to do that, right? And we have Bhaktin Śvetāśvatara joining us here today. Hare Krishna. Śvetāśvatara, thank you for joining the call here just in time. As we go into text number 7, which is today's verse, it's a very, very famous verse. A lot of us already might know about it, and very beautiful verse as well. mattaḥ para-taram nānyat kiñcid asti dhanañ-jaya mayi sarvam idam protaṁ sūtre maṇi-gaṇā iva. Mattaḥ para-taram nānyat kiñcid asti dhanañ-jaya mayi sarvam idam protaṁ sūtre maṇi-gaṇā iva. Mattaḥ para-taram nānyat kiñcid asti dhanañ-jaya mayi sarvam idam protaṁ sūtre maṇi-gaṇā iva. So, synonyms by Śrīla Prabhupada. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Mattaḥ means beyond me, which is, you see me with the uppercase M, that is, we're referring to Krishna. Para-taram is superior. Na, not, anyat, kiñcit. Right, so then anyat kiñcit, right, and na anyat kiñcit became nānyat kiñcit here on the top, well, we did the sandhi, right? And Hare Krishna, Yuval Mataji, thank you for joining call. And then I'm just trying to get rid of this. All right, then asti, there is or exist. Dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth. So who is Dhananjaya?
Arjuna.
Correct, for 500 points. Mayi, in me, sarvam, all that be, idam, which we see, protaṁ is strung, sūtre, on a thread, maṇi-gaṇāḥ, pearls, iva, like. Translation: O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupada. There is a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad-gītā is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth, is also the affirmation of Brahma-saṁhitā, Ishvara Parma Krishna sac-cid-ānanda-vigrahaḥ. That is, the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead is Lord Kṛṣṇa, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. Right? So bliss and knowledge. Sac-cid-ānanda, right? So Chid is knowledge and Anand is bliss. And Sat means eternal. So these authorities leave no doubt. So who are the authorities here?
Brahma-saṁhitā, Puranas.
Yes, correct. So these authorities leave no doubt about the absolute truth, that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Śvetāśvatara Upaniṣad, tato yad uttara-taraṁ tad arupam anamayam ya etad vidur amritaste bhavanti athetare dukham eva piyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme among the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is transcendence, who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalists put more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge as described in the Brahma-saṁhitā, quoted above. Other verses in Śvetāśvatara Upaniṣad 3.8 to 9 substantiate this as follows. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasaha parastat tam eva viditvati mrityum eti nanya pantha vidyate yanaya. Yasmat param na param asti kiñcit yasman naniyo no jayo stikat kiñcit vriksha iva stabdo dvitishtatyekas tenedam purnam purushena sarvam. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. So only he who knows him can transcend the bond of birth and death. Can you give me a verse from Bhagavad-gītā that supports this statement? Only he who knows Krishna can transcend.
Me divyam.
Very nice. And what verse number is that? Chapter 4?
4.8.
4.9, correct. Yeah. Go ahead, complete that verse, Mataji. Kiran.
Sorry, I don't remember.
Evam yo
Janma
vedi
karma
tatvataha tyakto
Tyaktya
Deha punar
janma
Naiti
Mameti.
So Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Right? So he's saying that only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that absolute, of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest. He is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree and he illumines the transcendental sky. And as the tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervading by his multi-energies, both material as well as spiritual. Om Tat Sat. So, reflections based on what you have heard so far. From 7.7. Nice, beautiful verse. Mattaḥ para-taram nānyat kiñcit asti dhanañ-jaya. Mayi sarvam idam protaṁ sūtre maṇi-gaṇā.
Actually, I thought I'd think of something. You know, it's always interesting because Krishna is always trying to say, I am personal, I'm real. and at the beginning, he has to remind everybody that we're not the body. But then he's trying to say, but I am, I'm real. So it's kind of like we are so unconditioned and so conditioned that we believe the opposite, like that tree. It's kind of, and then when we see reality, we can't actually recognize it. Then we ask the question, where are you? Why can't I see you? So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, very rightly said. And the moment we say, okay, that Krishna has no form, when people say he has no form, and you also hear nirakar. Akar means a form, right? So when we say Krishna is nirakar, so there are two ways of looking at it. One is that we are looking at an aspect of Krishna, which is nirakar. It doesn't have a akar, it doesn't have a form. And that is the effulgence coming from Krishna. Okay? So in one of the verses that we read in the purport, it said that that Krishna is beyond Brahma, right? So, and when we were talking about the structure of this universe, we said it's shaped like an egg, the egg and has a shell of its own also, and we are all residing inside this jumbo shell, egg, right? And as soon as we break the shell and get out, we have broken the shell, we've come out of the universe, what's going to hit us will be the light coming from Krishna. And that light is very dazzling. And that's why in each Upanishad it says, Hiranyamayena patrena. They remove this dazzling effulgence because it blinds me. And I'm not able to see anything beyond that. So my knowledge finishes at that point, right? So when people say Nirakar, they have hit that line and they're saying, okay, this is effulgence, this is God. Because as soon as they are able to, by whatever means and whatever qualifications, if they're able to break through the shell and get out of this material universe, this means that they have done a lot in their devotional service. They have gone to a very high level and they see this. right? And some can just stop there because it gives you immediate relief from the material concept. And that's why when people say that Krishna is not material, we kind of jump to the conclusion that Krishna does not have the body. And why? Because number one, we have been told, as you pointed out, Survi Gondamataji, that you're not the body, right? So I'm something spiritual. So, and this is all that I know. This is all that I've seen. And this is all that I can perceive. So I will jump to the wrong conclusion that, the soul also doesn't have a shape, and nor does Krishna have any shape, right? But that is just, from the negative of this material world, dukkhalayam ashashvatam, we have come to a stage where there is no dukh, but we have not reached the stage where there is sukh, right? And the sukh comes, the happiness comes when we are doing something which is very natural to us. That's when we feel very happy, right? It's so funny that I've been called to work, return to work, Surabhi Mataji, which means now you go early in the morning, leave, and then reach office, sit there the whole day in air conditioning, which is never perfect. I've never seen air conditioning to be perfect in any place where I've gone, which has air conditioner. Either it's too hot or it's too cold. So anyway, you suffer that, and then you take a bus and come back home, and then and then you sit down, and then you start doing work for the temple, and you're overjoyed. And I was just thinking, what is this? I'm supposed to be tired and come back home and do. So why does it make you feel happy? Because that's natural to us. Doing activities related to devotional service is something which is very natural to us and will always make us happy. Right? So when we reach that stage, of, getting out of the shell, and we come to the, when we come to the effulgence, when we encounter the effulgence from the Lord or the Brahma Jyoti, it's almost like, somebody has adjusted my air conditioning. And that's all, I'm not doing anything beyond that, right? So beyond that is, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati na kanchati, sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhte param. When it starts doing bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, that's when, it will be really prasanna, right? Real happiness is going to come from there to that. So, yeah, so in this verse, of course, Prabhupada is giving us so many citations to explain, right? That Krishna is a personality, and that Krishna is not just an energy. Of course, that is also Krishna, right? Energy and the energetic. So these are all energies, and we talked about the energies in the previous verses, right? Bhumi apo analo vayu kam mano buddhi vacha. So that is there. You see, they're very much energies of Krishna, but they are lower and inferior energies of the Lord. And in other places, Prabhupada also explains that since our body gives us grief, since our body gives us a lot of grief, we tend to find like a place which is very happy. For example, now in California, it's very, very hot. Is it hot or not hot? What do you say? It's hot, right? So then if I'm trying to find relief, I'll be going and saying, okay, give me a place where this cool air is blowing, and then, that's all that I can imagine, right? So similarly here, when my body is giving me a lot of grief, I'll be like, take me to a place where there's no body. I remember this last weekend when we were so tired from, working hours and hours and hours and walking hours and hours and hours. I was just telling and joking to somebody in the evening that, if there was a way for me to unhook my legs and then hang them on the wall and say, they don't belong to me because they're hurting me so much. So our concept of happiness when our body is giving us grief is to go to some place where there is no body, right? And so it's not go to a place where there's no body, you go to a place where you have a spiritual body there, right? So he explains that. Now, this verse can also be a very dangerous verse that people can use against a personality of the Lord and a personal form of the Lord, to say that sūtre maṇi-gaṇā iva. He's saying just like a pearl necklace. So in a pearl necklace, the beauty of a necklace, right? You'll say a good quality necklace or even a good quality garland, right? So sometimes we see that a teacher has come and then they are giving a lecture, and somebody comes and gives them a garland, and the teacher, or wears the garland throughout the class, and you see that two hours into the class or an hour into the class, the flowers are slowly sliding down, and then you see the thread, right? And then the garland doesn't look beautiful. So a beauty of a garland, right? A beautifully made high-class garland will be that you will not see the thread that joins it together, right? So when you go to a pearl shop, right, and buy a nice pearl necklace, it is torn on a thread, but the craftsmanship, the good craftsmanship will be such that you do not see the thread, right? Which means basically this thread is invisible. Okay. Now, when you say that the thread is invisible, that will mean that, oh, you know what? When there is a form is always visible. That's what form does, right? That is what our sense organ, eyes, right? What is the object of this sense organ? What does this sense organ sense? It senses forms, right? So the moment you say, formless, this means that, there is no form, there's nothing for me to see, like that. And so if something is invisible, it doesn't have a form. If it has a form, I'll be able to see it. So people can conclude from this verse that saying like, oh, this is what Krishna is. He's invisible. And why is he invisible? Because he doesn't have a form. But that is not the thing, right? Are there things in this material world that we cannot see? Are there things that we cannot see, or yes or no?
Yeah, there's electromagnetic waves.
Air.
Right, magnetic waves is anything subtle you cannot see, right? Even on the even in the spectrum of light, like Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, all that red, all the way up to red, and then there is ultraviolet and there is infrared. You cannot see, right? So and then some animals can see that form, right? So there are things here also that you cannot see. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a form, right? And this was a question that Arjuna asked Krishna in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, which is going to come right soon. And there he says that, what does he say? Evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvam parupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. So he says that Krishna, for those who worship you, right? Some who worship you in the form and some who worship you without the form. Yeah, yuetva aksharam anirdesham. So then Krishna says that immediately, Maya veshmano yamam nitya yukta upasate Shraddha-ya paryopetas teme yukta tamamataha. So he says that those who worship me in the form, they are the best. Right? But then he also says that yetva aksharam anirdesham avyaktam parupasate sarvatragam achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyam yendriya gramam sarvatra sambuddhaya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiterataha. So he says that those who meditate on me as the inconceivable, indefinite, immutable, immovable, cannot be seen, all that stuff he's saying, that they will also, in the end, they will also achieve me. When Krishna is saying that achieve me means the physical, the Krishna who's standing in front of Arjuna and who's speaking, they think they will also ultimately achieve me. Now, how are they going to achieve? The question here is, how can I achieve? Because I always thought that Krishna is going to be formless, right? And then how will I ultimately achieve my form? I never set that as my goal in life to go there, right? So when we focus on Krishna and meditate on Krishna and make Krishna as the formless form, or which is basically the effulgence of Krishna or the light, is to be my goal, that God is, who is God? God is light. Now, how is the light doing all those things is a different question, without any hands or without anything, but that's a separate discussion. But anyway, so they think that God is light. So they will reach there, and they will reach the level of zero, because there, all that they have found is a light. And how do you interact with the light? You cannot serve the light, you cannot press the feet, you cannot give food to the light. What will you do? Right? So the soul that reaches the effulgence will come down. After some time, the soul comes down. Right? So there are two situations in which the soul is going to come down. In chapter 9 of Bhagavad-gītā, it talks about that those who are looking for a better life. So some are smart, they have figured it out that there is a life after death. And so you can improve this life by working hard, making good social connections, getting a good job, exercising, and you have a good life, right? Behaving properly, so you have a good life, right? But then some have figured it out that when you die, everything is left behind. You have to leave everything and go. There's nothing that you can take with you, right? Material. So they have now figured out that there is a life after death, and I need to improve that also. So when they have gone there, then they will start, offering things, sacrifices, penances, austerities. They will do all that and get some credit so that they can be raised to the higher heavenly planets, but they're still material in nature. And when your credits expire, you're going to come down. Okay. So that is one way of that you can come down, that you went to a higher material realm and then you came down because you completed your money. The credit card ran out, right? The second type of falling down is that, you have reached beyond the material. You have crossed the material line. Phenomenal, you have crossed. Now you're going into the numinous, right? But which numinous? The formless numinous. So you'll go there, you'll be bored because there's no enjoyment. At least the soul will think that down below in the material world, there was some enjoyment I was doing, right? I had friends, I was eating and all that. So that's the only form of enjoyment those people know. So they will come down and they'll fall down. But Krishna says in the 12th chapter that they're ultimately going to find me. So how is that miracle going to happen? How will this person who was an impersonalist, who has fallen down from the effulgence and now in the material world, how is this person going to go back and reach Krishna? What do you think? Because Krishna is saying, right? Go ahead, Varshana Mataji.
Mataji, when one goes beyond the modes of material nature, when he realizes that in the effulgence, he is not finding the lotus feet of the Lord, and he cannot enjoy because he never believed that there is a form. And that is why, but he is spiritual and he comes down again. And then he realizes, he gets into the association of the people and starts reading the scriptures and understand it. And then the three modes of material nature don't affect him. And that is the time he will realize the form of that in me, there is Paramatma, and beyond that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the time he will go back to Godhead. This is my realization.
This is your realization. But what happens? This person has spent life or many lives concentrating on the impersonal form of the Lord because that's his belief. Now, what happens? What is it? What happens between the time that he falls down and, like you said, he starts to read the books? What happens there? It's a very simple answer.
Bhakti Yoga.
What happens?
Devotional
The time
service.
he falls down.
He starts
Association of
doing
devotees.
devotional service.
Think about it. Think about it. So the soul has fallen down. Phase 1. And you're saying phase 2, he's reading a book. What has happened between the two? Very
He
simple.
took part in a righteous family.
He took birth in a righteous family. What did the righteous family do?
Like they will progress, like they are advanced in devotional service, or they
Why should he get birth in a devotional service, in a devotional family? He's not from a lineage of devotional family. He's from a lineage of impersonalists. For all that, he might get born in an impersonalist family again, right? Birds of a feather flock together. What happens in between? You fall down, you are born in an impersonalist family or whatever type of family you're born. And then Varshana Mataji said they start reading the book. What happens? It's a very simple answer.
He takes the shelter of Guru, and Guru guides him. The Acharya.
Okay, why would he? Yes, so he will go back to the same Guru, right? That's the Gurus who are impersonalists. He's going to go back to that.
So when he falls down, he starts to see the need for Krishna, and he looks, it's like the two birds, he turns around and gets a glimpse of Krishna to start with.
So falling down is a realization that there
Falling
is.
down is
What I was doing was giving me incomplete
correct.
happiness, and I'm looking for some complete happiness, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So it's realizing that what he had was
Insufficient.
not insufficient. Yeah, that's a good word.
Correct,
Thank you.
right.
Yeah.
So then now what happens between realizing that you have incomplete happiness and then you start reading a book? Should I give you the
He
answer?
will try
You guys,
to
knowledge,
find
the
out
knowledge.
Krishna. He will try to reach like
you are
the goal.
you're going to kill me when I tell you the answer. And that is somebody gives him the book.
And that changes his life.
That changes his life, right? So an impersonalist will always be impersonalist unless a devotee of the Lord goes and gives him the Lord in some form, gives him Krishna Prasadam, gives him a book to read. And that is why, devotees are much more merciful than Krishna. Krishna just said, okay, you're figuring out, I'm impersonal, okay, come here. Okay, you didn't like it, okay, go down. That's it. But it's the devotees who come in, their hearts are so full. And that's why he says that in the end, they also come to me. Right? So people should not just think that because in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna has said, they will also come in the end. So fine, I will also go to him in the end. No, there's a lot that's going to happen in between. And book distribution is one of them. That somebody will place the book in their hands. So that getting that book is the ultimate, because it crosses over or nullifies anything else that could have happened to him. He could be born again in the family of an impersonalist. He could have been born in a family that doesn't believe in God. Wherever he is born, right? He's there. And why? And as you all had, I think, so we had pointed out that you are looking for the real happiness and you're not getting that. You tried everything possible in this world. And we said, right? Aperiyam itastvanne. Prakritim vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabhavo yayedam dharyate jagat. So we are trying to enjoy this material world, but we're not getting that enjoyment. And somebody will come and give you a transcendental laddu in your hand. And then you understand what is enjoyment, like that. Vaishana Mataji, go ahead.
Mataji, I have a question. That Shankaracharya was impersonal, but in the end of the life, he understood and he started believing in the form of Krishna. How did that happen to him?
So who's Shankaracharya? Whose incarnation is Shankaracharya?
Pardon?
Shankaracharya is somebody's incarnation, right?
I don't know.
Shivaji, Shiva,
Okay.
Shankar, Acharya, right? From the name itself, right? So, so there is a gradual progression and a gradual way in which we wean people towards a certain thing, right? For example, if you want to make a child learn how to swim, it's not a good idea to throw them in the water, right? Right? You will just take them, you'll say, okay, now why don't you put your feet in the water? Then they'll put the feet and they'll come out. And then he slowly said, okay, let's sit. We'll just dangle. We'll just hang our legs inside the water. Let's play, right? Let's throw a ball. And then slowly, okay, now let's go down to the next step. Let's go down into the pool to the next step. And slowly, you will bring them, right? Because sudden shocks will be difficult. So if you go back to before the Buddhist era, what had happened was that people had started to interpret the Vedas in the wrong manner. Although Krishna says, Vedeshta sarve aham eva vedyo. That I am to be understood from the Vedas, but people started looking at the parts of the Vedas where there is karma kanda, right? You do this, you will get this. You do this, you'll get this completely. Do it in a mechanical manner. And so when this became so much that people started, doing sacrifices, killing and all that kind of stuff. So then Buddha came and said, don't touch the Vedas. So that was a way to stop people from wrongly interpreting the Vedas. He said, no Vedas like that, right? And then slowly, when all that happened, people said, okay, we're not following Vedas. They stopped doing the wrong practices or wrong interpretation of the Vedas. And the time came ripe to introduce God again. But it would have been difficult for people who were told that don't go to Vedas, there's no God, there's void and all that, for them to now suddenly Krishna comes with a flute in his hand and say, no, this is God, right? So then Krishna's biggest devotee, which is Shambhu, right? Shiva,
Shiva.
he comes in the form of Shankaracharya. So it's not that Shankaracharya was an impersonalist or he didn't believe in Krishna or he didn't love Krishna. He loves Krishna to the core of his heart because he is Shambhu, right? So he comes and then he starts teaching the impersonalist thing so that people can slowly come from a godless society to a society where they tell you about there is God, but he doesn't have a form, right? But in the end, what he's saying towards the end of his life, or here, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate. So even as he's, towards the end, he's just saying, this is the truth, right? And then after that, we have, all these incarnations that are coming. And the books are being written and, translations happening, people coming. So like that. So it's not that that he had a transformation. He was already a devotee of the Lord. Let's see what's
Thank you so much.
no problem.
Yes, Madhuri, if a person realizes that the real happiness is comes from Lord, like to live in the temple or to live in the dham, then if he leave the family or the material world and starts to live in the dham or in the temple, will that be wrong or right?
To leave everything and go there, it is not necessary. We might think, and I'm just bringing up a verse here from Srimad Bhagavatam, we might think that, oh, this is so good, and I'm just going to leave everything, and let me just go and live in the temple. I'm telling you, it's not an easy thing to live in the temple. We might think in the beginning. And then if you make such hasty decisions, for example, in the temple, there won't be any air conditioners, there won't be any refrigerator for us. People will come and they'll just pile on work on you because you're living in the temple, right? And doing the same thing over and over again might not be everybody's cup of tea. If it was everybody's cup of tea, everybody would be living in the temple, right? So one thing to keep in mind is that in order to achieve Krishna, and it's a very apt question that you have asked because we're talking about energies of Krishna in this chapter. So for us to be able to reach Krishna, it doesn't mean that we have to give up everything which is there. You don't have to give up your family. You don't have to give up your job. You don't have to give up anything in order to achieve Krishna consciousness. You can continue sthane sthita. Wherever you are, you can stay in that position and then you can continue. Like you said, living in the temple versus is the same as living in the dham, right? So let's go to the temple. I can't go to the dham. Let's go and live in the temple. Yeah, go to the temple, a few hours, enjoy the dham, and then come back home because you have duties. You are a grihastha, right? And this is Kali Yuga. We don't take sannyas and leave things and go away. Okay? Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm just going to bring up, this is when when the Mahabharata war was there, beginning at that time, Duryodhan had insulted Vidura, right? Vidura, what had he said to him? What was the insult that was heard? Mahabharata fans? Something he said, right? What did he call him?
Dashiputra.
Dasiputra, correct, for 500
yes.
points, right? Call him Dasiputra, and on that pretext he went, right? And then he moved from one place to another place. And then finally he hears the message from Uddhav that Krishna has left the planet and Mahabharata war is over and all that. Then he comes back. Because one of the duties assigned to Vidura was to give good advice to the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So he comes back. And when he comes back, then Yudhishthir is welcoming him, right? And while Yudhishthir is welcoming him, he speaks this verse. Bhavat vida bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vibhu tirthi kurvanti tirthani svanthasthena gadabhrata. My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. So that is what our goal in life should be, that I purify myself to that extent, that wherever I go, that place gets purified because of my presence. And not that I have to leave my family and go away and do, devotional service. I may think that I'll be able to do devotional service. Sitapa, does that answer your question?
Yes, Mataji, thank
Pointed
you.
manner?
But the material world sometimes is so like entanglement. It's very
We want to
difficult to
leave.
come out.
Yes, you want to get out. Yeah. And asthane sthita. So Brahma says that no, we should just stay wherever we are. And in that stage, you do devotional service. So when there are difficulties in life, and if you are doing devotional service, then it carries even more credits for you, right? For example, if in a school, there is a school valedictorian who gets chosen, right? The student who does very well in studies throughout. So in the high school valedictorian, if there are, there's a tie. And so there's one child who's poor and, single mom or single dad, like that, very bad circumstances in home, and does a good job. And the other one is from a normal family and also does equally well. So valedictorian will be given to the one who comes from a, difficult background, because despite all that, you have done this, right? So that always carries more credit. So those who take the name of the Lord when they are in trouble are really, really fortunate, because what happens? What's the first instinct? What's the first instinct that when we are in trouble related to Krishna?
We ask Lord Kṛṣṇa to keep his mercy on us and to help us to get rid of that, so that we can concentrate. Like I pray like this.
You say like that, right? You are a devotee.
To run away from the
general.
situation.
Sorry, Kiran Mataji?
To run away from the situation.
Yeah, but I was just saying, what is our reaction towards Krishna when something bad happens to us?
Why did you do this to me?
Why is Krishna doing this to me? Exactly,
Yes.
right? Exactly. So that is, so when somebody in that situation doesn't say, why is Krishna doing this to me? But instead calls out to Krishna, that's one level of calling out, hey Govinda, hey Gopala, right? Draupadi. So that's one thing. But beyond that is what? Tatte nukampam susamikshamanam vipakam
namaste
Vivetayo muktipade sadayava. Right? So, what is he saying? He's saying that when this is what, if a person, when the bad things come on him, he said, tatte anukampa. That, oh Lord, this is your anukampa, your mercy on me. Right? Understands negative things happening in life as Krishna's special mercy. And Hridvak Vapubhir uses his heart, his words, right, and his body in glorifying the Lord. That's why then that person becomes eligible for liberation from this material world, right? So it is difficult. It is extremely difficult to do this. It's not an easy thing. But at least, as Vaishnavi Prabhu says, you can fake it. Let's get into the habit that whenever something bad happens to us, we just say, okay, Krishna, this is your mercy. I'm not able to understand your mercy, but I have read enough to know that this is your mercy. Just get into that habit of saying that, right? And then slowly it'll become your habit. Also, you can pray to Krishna that every time, whenever we are faced with reversals in life, there will be some learning for me in that. And so when I know that every reversal in life has a learning for me, and until and unless I don't learn from him, this reversed situation is not going to go away, then what am I supposed to do? Pray to Krishna and say, Krishna, help me learn whatever I'm supposed to learn from this situation you have given me. Help me, Krishna. Right? So reaching out to Krishna to help us. And he will, because he's Bhavagrahi Janardana. You all were saying that Krishna is Paramatma in the heart. So he's hearing that, right? You turn your face towards Krishna. He will listen. He will respond. He does that. To his devotees, he will respond like that. So when reversals in life come, this is how our reaction should be. On the other hand, those who are materialist, when something nice happens to them, it is like, I did it. And when something bad happens to them, it is like, why is Krishna doing it to me? Right? So need to have that balance in life to be able to do that. So in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, where Krishna is explaining and he's saying that, he says that, te prapnumanti mameva sarvabhuta hiterata. So they will also find me ultimately. Those who are focusing on the invisible part of Krishna, sūtre maṇi-gaṇā eva, the thread that is tying all these things together, right? Those who are focusing on Krishna as the invisible, they will also come to me. But he's saying, klesho, klesh. Klesh means?
Conflicts.
Conflicts, difficulty, distress. Right? Klesho adhik taras tesham avyak asakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavat bhairavapsati. So he says, but it is very difficult. It's very difficult to do that. And why he is saying it's very difficult to do that? To concentrate on a God which is formless. He's saying because you have a body. Especially because you have a body, it becomes very difficult for you to even relate to something which doesn't have a body. He'll say, okay, close your eyes and think about Krishna. Krishna doesn't have a form. What will you think about? Because whenever your eyes are open, everything that you see around this room has got a shape. Pen has got a shape, mouse has got a shape, fan has got a shape, computer has got a shape, keyboard has got a shape. You look at yourself, you have a shape. So it's very difficult, he's saying, for people to do that, like that. So, sūtre maṇi-gaṇā eva, like I was saying, can be dangerously interpreted in the wrong manner by saying, hey, this says that Krishna is invisible. But that doesn't mean that Krishna is invisible. What this verse particularly is saying is, it's a simile. He's saying that just as different pearls are held together in the form of a beautiful necklace, similarly, this whole material universe, as well as this entire spiritual universe, is strewn together. And what is the thread that is linking everything in this world? I am that thread. And it is invisible to us because, we are not yet purified. Our senses are not purified enough, right? We are just, engaged and entangled in this material world. That's all we do, right? So this material world that we are living in, we have got a body in this material world, and which is a material body. So we are just constantly and completely engaged in this material body. As Sita Bhamati was saying, it's difficult, right, in this material world. Because why? Number one, the material world is very, very active. Do you agree with me? Is the material world active?
Yes.
And can you explain how it is active?
It really attracts you so much that you get inclined towards.
The question is active. How is the material world active? What makes you think the material world is active? What is it happening around you that is active, that makes you think that material world is active? Do you see some activity around you?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, yeah. What activities do you see around you? Come on.
Mataji, Ajamil just went to the forest.
Not Ajamil, no, set aside Ajamil, right? Now. Ajamil is from the previous eras, right?
It's in negative sense or in positive sense, Mataji?
All senses, positive or negative. Just tell me, what makes you think this material world is active? You open your eyes in the morning, do you see any activity? Do you?
Yes, Mataji, we're listening that the war is going on, the people were killed, and somewhere, someplace, there's the hurricane, tornado, the house were like demolished, some places, and some apartments, they got in fire. It's on fire. So that is not activity, it's in the negative
Yes,
sense.
of course it is, and it is negative activity.
Yes.
Right? Now give me some positive activities that you see around.
The sun rises and we see that objects of nature have started working. So
Yes, the
Getting
plants are
warm.
blooming, the flowers are opening, the birds
Yeah.
are chirping, the rivers are flowing, there are cars
Yeah.
everywhere, people are starting the
The
dishwasher,
sun
the
rises, sun
right? Sun
sets.
rises, sun closes, birds are flying, dogs are barking, cats are moving, vendors are selling. There's activity all
Yeah.
along, all
Someday
along the
it's
side.
rainy, gloomy, and someday
Right.
it's so bright and
Exactly.
beautiful.
Exactly. And so there's something that is constantly happening in this world, and our jnanendriyas, our senses are constantly gathering all that information from this material world, right or right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then so it's a very, very active, right? So remember the 3 A's of the material world. Number 1, it is active. And number 2, it is attractive. Why is it attractive? Number 1, because our senses are gathering all that information, right? Right? So that is one. One is that it attracts you. There's some sound, your ears will be attracted to it. There's something moves, your eyes will be attracted to it. Right? So that's one level of attraction. The other level of attraction is that it is the working of Maya. And it is not only Maya, it's our working also. You open the television and there are advertisements. What are the advertisements supposed to do to you? They are meant to
Attract.
attract you, right? So everywhere there are things that will be meant to attract, right? So the material world is active,
Active.
it is attractive, and the worst,
Attract.
it is addictive.
Oh,
So
Oh,
three
It
A's.
is?
addictive.
Addictive.
yes.
Who said yes? Sutapa, good. You're honest. So
Yes, Mataji, because just now means why, like last 3-4 days, honestly speaking, I still go to Facebook and I just scroll down. So last 3-4 days I did not do that, and I was kind of peaceful and so happy that I don't need to see what the other people are doing. But today again, I checked that, and I was like feeling, oh no, this is not like some agitation, something like that. So that's why I told that it's addictive.
it is addictive, and then even when you think that the addiction is gone, it is still lying underneath. Very quickly it will surface. The moment you go back to the Facebook, then the attraction will come again, sometimes with double the vengeance, because you were starved of Facebook for 2 days, right? So now the mind wants to compensate on that also today when you go there. Yeah. And this is how the world is constructed. The world is meant to be like that, to make it addictive for you, because this world was made for us to enjoy, right? So unless you don't get addicted, how will you enjoy? Right? Make you addicted, and then you do it once, you like it, you do it second time, you like it, third time, fourth time, right? So they are the Maya has made this world like that, right? So what attraction is enticing something, right? But addiction is entrapping it, right? Somebody gets attracted to something, goes there, comes out, that's fine. But got attracted to something and then stays there, now you are trapped, entrapped. And that's what Maya does, right? That's what Prabhupada always says, that the last snare is something when you get entrapped, right? So the last snare of Maya is that you think you are God. That's what Mayavadis are going to tell you, right? So today's verse basically is not talking about Krishna being without a form. It's just saying that Krishna, unseen by our material eyes, is actually still holding this entire universe, which is material as well as spiritual. Everything, Krishna is holding them all together by his energies, and we don't see that, we don't know that, right? And we will come up with lots of theories. The scientists are going to sit down and they'll say, okay, they'll talk about atoms which are agitating and electrons which are going there and everything is vibrating. But then how come all these agitated and so much active atoms, they come and form something so beautiful? and many, many things that are so beautiful. How come that is being created? So that is that which brings all these atoms together and performs and creates such a beautiful variety in the material world as well as in the spiritual world, is the sūtre maṇi-gaṇā eva, is the thread that connects all of them together. Okay? As you go deep into the Srimad Bhagavatam and start reading about this universe, it also explains how the planets revolve around the sun and how Krishna is involved in that also. So, sūtre maṇi-gaṇā eva, right? So he's the force behind everything. So that's the thing that we have to remember, and not that Krishna is invisible and that he doesn't have a form. He has a form, but he's just doing it. Right? For example, if you go to a park, right, and it says nobody allowed after 9 p.m. in the park. Okay, there's a rule there. Whose rule is it? You don't see that person who has given the rule, but the rule is there and it will be applicable to you. If you stay beyond 9 p.m., somebody will come and arrest you or put a fine or something like that. But the rule, you do not see the rule maker. You do not see the government made the rule, the governor made the rule, or the city mayor made the rule. You don't see that mayor there sitting in the park, but he's there. Sūtre maṇi-gaṇā eva. He's tying the park together according to his rules, saying this and that, right? So we need to keep that in mind when we're reading this verse. So we are way beyond Sutapa's sleeping time.
Mataji, it's not my sleeping time.
Eating time, dinner time. Yeah.
Mataji, like the last thing that you told, like it's the attraction entraps you. That is the line.
Attraction is something that attraction and enticing is the same thing, right? You entice somebody, right? Which means to pull them towards yourself is enticing, right? For example, a girl might put on a lot of makeup to entice somebody to come, right? Or a young boy might play pranks to attract the girls in the class. They do it all the time, right? So that's enticing, right? Or you might entice a child by showing them a red ball and say, hey, look at this, and the child comes to you, right? Enticing. But then when and as soon as the child comes to you, or like, we read about those, how an elephant gets trapped, they put a female elephant, or they put music and a deer gets attracted. So they're enticing, come over here. And as soon as they come, they are caught in a snare or they're killed. So that is entrapped. And the nature of this world is to entrap you and keep you here.
That means, Mataji, we should not challenge Maya.
Oh, yes.
That, okay, let's see what happens. No.
Yes, and look at Maya as not as your enemy. Look at Maya as your friend. And this is where, I was telling you earlier that when mishaps happen, then we try to see them as Krishna's mercy. We might not understand it at that time, but 10 years down the line, you might understand that it was Krishna's mercy. So look at Maya as Krishna's instrument. Maya adhakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena kanteya. Right? So he's saying that Maya adhakshena, this Maya is underneath me. So if Maya is behaving in a certain way with you, this means that she got the orders from Krishna. Right? And that's when the tattenukampam susamekshamano comes, like, okay, Maya is doing this to me. I'm in this material world. I'm suffering material miseries, but they are being inflicted on me because of your directions. And then the tattenukampa verse comes in, which is saying that I deserved worse. But because I'm a devotee, you have lightened the punishment for me a little bit. Right? And then continue to glorify. It's a difficult thing. But from practice, we have to start practicing it, start telling our mind. I heard that in the class that Shraddha-devi Dasi told me this thing. Let me just at least start speaking it. And then slowly it'll become a habit for you, like that. But remember,
but the kleshas are always there with us. They keep troubling us, like adhyatmik, bhautik, daivik. They all are there around us and they really keep troubling us. How to get out of them?
Don't. Because you can't. So these are coming. Why do all these kleshas come to us? Adi bhautik, adi daivik, adhyatmik. Why do you think these kleshas come to us? Why are we being rewarded these things?
Is it to make us pure?
Yes. Everything makes us pure. Vivdasantu tasatvat tatte tattu jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatyat apunar bhava darshanam. Kunti Maharani says, right? That let all these calamities come to me again and again. When these calamities come, I look at you. And when we look at you, then we will not get into this janma karma chame dinyam evam yoveti tatvata tyakta deha punarjanmam. After I leave this body, I will not be coming back again. Right? So if the more we try to resist these calamities that come to us, resistance is going to be very difficult. And I think I told you all some time ago that 10, 12 years ago, I had a lot of pain in my hand from working on the computer. It was terribly painful. And so they tried all kinds of medicines and all that. And somebody said, go to acupuncture. So I had no choice. I was scared of needles and, going on in their body. But I did go there. And so the doctor came with a needle and she started putting it in my, arms or whatever. And then I would do like this, And then she said something which was very nice. She took my name and then she said, embrace the pain. I had not even heard that word or that concept that you can embrace the pain. But then at that point, I just understood that, okay, so pain is going to come. There will be a needle. It is going to come, but it is for my own benefit. And guess what? After that, I took acupuncture for 10 years, after that, and would go to the doctor on my own saying like, I need the needle. I know it's going to hurt and then it'll be good. So, so when these reversals come onto you, don't try to resist them too much, right? Take them as Krishna's hand is in me. What's going to happen by that is it's going to calm you down. So when I was not calming down, when the doctor was coming to me with the needle, I was not calming down. I was resisting. And when you resist, your muscles get tightened. And your muscles are tightened, it's more difficult for the needle to go through a tight muscle than for the needle to go through a relaxed muscle. Right? The same thing with us also. Right? And then as you engage in devotional service, then Yastva Indra Gopa Athavendra Ho Sakarma. So that verse from Brahma-saṁhitā says that everybody down from Indra Gopa all the way up to Indra, who is the king of the demigods, is bound by the karmic reactions. And how all these reversals in our life, Adi Bhautik, Adi Vlatik, Adhyatmik, all these are coming to us because of our karmic reaction. And the only thing that can clear your backlog of karmic reactions is devotional service. And as you progress in devotional service, you change your planes and you go to a higher realm so that the things in the lower realms do not bother you. And I always give this crude example of if there is a traffic jam, right? On your way to your office, there's a traffic jam, and I hear a lot these days that you are like there was an accident on 680, so we were there stuck for 2 hours, and that's why I'm late coming to the office and so on and so forth. So you are on that. So if you are going to the office all the time using 680, you will have trouble. But if you get onto a helicopter, then you are beyond all these things. So similarly, if you raise your consciousness to a higher level, and that is what happens. It's not that bad things don't happen to good people. It's not that cancer doesn't happen to devotees of the Lord. It's not that medical, situations don't happen to devotees of the Lord. Their consciousness is at such a high level that this stops to bother them. That, right? It'll stop to bother you. You'll say, okay, this is Krishna's way. There is something for me to learn in it. I mean, I still remember I was thinking about my sister the other day. She was in an accident and she fell and she broke her backbone, some of those, bones there. And she was telling me, this was like, I think 15 or so years ago. And she was telling me, because she had a full family, she had to take care of that, mother-in-law, children, all that, a job. She used to be very, very busy. And then she said, oh, now I'm confined to the bed. I'll read the Brahma-saṁhitā. And she read the whole Brahma-saṁhitā. So people do that. One of my god sisters was laid off and then she came back and said, oh, I memorized the Brahma-saṁhitā while I was looking for another job. So there are reversals that will come in life. And Srimad Bhagavatam tells you about reversals. I mean, look at how Bhagavatam first describes, when you come to the story of Gajendra, right? It describes how beautiful this material world is, the enticing part of it, the attractive part of it, right? So he was in Nandanvan, right? Somewhere in that area. And so they're beautiful flowers, trees, and he's the king of the elephant, Gajendra. And he's, from his trunk, he just plucks some flowers. He's got his wife, so many of them. And then he's inside the water and he's sporting like, the joys of, immersing your body in water. And then guess what? There's a crocodile in the water. So reversal, you see? It was such a horrible reversal that nobody could help him. And he's the king of the elephant. His foot has been caught by a crocodile. His wives cannot help him. Right? So these reversals in life will come and they will come again and again. It's up to us, how do we react to that situation, right?
Mataji, may I have the permission to leave? Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Please enjoy your dinner. And give my pranams to your husband. Survi Govinda Mataji, I saw your hand raised for quite some time.
Yeah, just quickly, I think Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Swami gave a very good lecture on Kunti's prayers. Yeah.
Amazing.
And in this area of embracing the calamities, one thing he said was worthwhile was to look back on our lives, even like how we became a devotee, to anything that's happened, and really take time to understand whose hand was in there and what was the situation before and the situation afterwards, and start to think about gratitude and move forward with humility, because we have learnings, because we're all here because we do have learnings, and we have to learn how to take them forward with gratitude and humility, because that will bear the results. So that's always stuck with me. So I wanted to just put that out there.
Very well put. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And that gratitude shows in the Bhagavatam verse, Tattenu kampapsi sarukshmano, his gratitude. He's saying, this is your mercy. Look at that. It's the extreme of gratitude. They are saying that I deserve worse and you have so the devotee is looking for opportunities to offer his gratitude. That's such a high level of gratefulness. Yeah. And Swam Bhagwan is amazing. I have to say that. Yeah. He gave a good lecture. I had the opportunity to attend one of his lectures. Yeah.
But Shraddha Mataji, in the same verse, Tattenu Kampam, at the end, it says that now he is surely eligible for liberation because it has become his rightful claim. So is it because that he went through all these past misdeeds and that's why, and still offering?
No, it has become his rightful claim, not because he's gone through miseries, because a lot of people go through miseries.
No,
it has become his rightful claim because even in that miserable condition, he remembered and glorified the Lord.
Yeah.
And I was grateful to the Lord, saying that I deserved worse and you have given me something better. Less bad, you've given me bad.
Yeah, so he kept giving his respectful obeisances all through that bad time also.
Yes. That time
the grateful is the word. Like, that was a really important word, because gratitude comes from the heart, and that feeling is the bhava, and that results in, it's the mother of all other virtues. It's what many famous people in our charya says. Gratitude is the mother of all virtues, whether it's humility or obeisances or whatever. Yeah.
Correct. And then you know what? Gratitude, the sense of gratitude and the feeling of gratitude puts you in a very happy situation. If you don't have gratitude, then you are a miserable person. When you have gratitude, you're so happy. Even for the small things. So we should start looking for small things, because Krishna is doing everything big and small in our lives. Everything. And we should be reaching out for that. Okay, how can I look for this? Oh, Krishna did. And then you see devotees, they just do that all the time.
We're grateful we have you. He's doing it right now. We have you.
And I have you.
No, we are the ones who are grateful to you.
Exactly.
No, I'm equally grateful. I have to
Yes,
do that. Hare Krishna, Madhu Mataji. Thank you for staying so late. Yeah, anything else? Any thought, any reflection, any question? We'll take it. All right. then going 1, going 2, going 3 with a lot of gratitude in our hearts. Let's take your leave. We'll meet again on Sunday morning. And just remember these words that Guru Maharaj once said, my Guru Maharaj once said, that I'm so grateful that my heart beats. It has not stopped.
Yeah. That's the first thing.
Kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Go Premanande.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Shraddha Mataji.